Hello, welcome to hell. This is White Devil, and I run the show. This is my second video. The first was just an introduction, and this will be essentially an expanded introduction, actually, because I wanted to continue to discuss the naming of this channel, White Devil. Um, Obviously, as I mentioned, my primary intellectual targets are racial sentiment and racial ideology. I hope some people took the trouble to click the link in that first video, which is a video of Luis Farrakhan spouting racist nonsense about white people. That's right there. It could just be a baseline window into what we're talking about when we're talking about racist ideology. Because that video, to my mind, is a great vantage from which to see that point where ideas become ideologies, right? It starts with an idea. White people aren't so great. Then it becomes an ideology. It becomes a system of believing and always sort of aligning any evidence with that first premise that white people aren't so good. So that's a great example of just what do we mean when we're talking about ideology. Here's the the dictionary definition. A system of ideas and ideals, especially one which forms the basis of economic or political theory and policy, and in a more archaic sense, the science of ideas, the study of their origin and nature. So we don't want to use that second usage, the science of ideas. That's sort of a morally neutral term, right? And yet even the top portion seems like it's missing a little bit of something, isn't it? Like there's something just a little bit more to what an ideology is. It's not just a system of ideas and ideas. That's what it should be. That's what it could be. But when we're talking about ideology, a lot of times what we're really talking about is a system of exclusion and a system of making people enemies of that particular system of thought. That's, I think, especially what you see with that White Devil video with Luis Farrakhan at the pulpit. This is the point where, in other words, an ideology, this is the way that I see it. Okay, this is not in a dictionary. This is just in my own mind. But the way that I see it is an ideology is the point at which an idea begins to have an enemy, right? An ideology is a system of ideas that have come to possess an enemy figure. But just like, for example, a narrative, right? A lot of times the antagonist is literally necessary for the unfolding of that narrative. So, like, if we think about a play, like Shakespeare's Othello, right, we need that villainous character to initiate the action and set up the sort of moral sequencing by which meaning is precipitated over the course of the play. But so if we think about this sort of white devil kind of ideology, clearly we have a protagonist, which I suppose is black Americans, and then we have an antagonist, which is essentially white Americans. We could also say it's just white people more generally, but we'll go with that for now. But what you realize is that ideology has those two units in it. But there's actually a third term that's outside of that and simply has nothing to do with it, which is basically any white person who has never had anything to do with black slavery or the perceived subjugation of the black race, whatever it might be. In other words, the system of thought has these two elements, the antagonist and the protagonist. But outside the system of thought, there is still a reality that supersedes it. And in that reality, of course, most white people had nothing to do with black slavery. Most white people did not benefit either directly or indirectly from slavery. The racial antagonism of this country is essentially one of its most standout elements, where it was like, boy, this just didn't have to be here, and it sucks that it was there. But the lesson that we have to take from that is just that we need to do better. That's the way that I see it. So again, this is just another sort of explanation of why I think that the name White Devil is really appropriate for my channel. It's because I'm trying to be the White Devil, not the racial antagonist, right? I'm trying to be the White Devil that is actually outside of this system of racial discourse and racial sentiment, that is actually antagonistic to the manner in which races are being arrayed against one another, as opposed to with one another, hopefully in solidarity against our mutual problems, including scarcity, self-destruction, outside threats, etc. Just existential crises, right? We've all got them. That is something that unifies every race. It has nothing to do with any sort of racial characteristic or makeup. So there you have it. Just one more point that I'm making as we chart our way towards a cognition that is free of racial sentiment and racial ideology. I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.